Hi there, Anthony Moy here. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to assess a 1 rep max on bench press with your client. I have Manny over here. He's a trained athlete. I've been working with him for a couple years. First thing I'm going to do is go over proper position when you're setting up for the bench press. 5 points of contact. You want both feet flat on the floor, hips flat on the bench, and both shoulders flat on the bench as well. Have the client reach up and grab the bar with a pronated grip, so hands facing down, and always thumbs wrapped around the bar. From there, we're just going to start off with the bar and have Manny do a couple familiarization exercises. So just hold on for 1 second. As a coach, you want to come around, straddle your client so that you're in a good position to lift the weight straight up if they need any assistance, and come with an overhand and underhand or alternating grip for your client. Client's grip should be just a little bit further than shoulder width apart. From that position, I'm going to help him lift the bar up off the rack and have him do a couple of exercises at just the bar. Okay, I see that Manny is executing the exercise properly, so I react the weight, and now we're going to estimate what his 1 rep max is. After your client is warmed up and become familiar with the exercise, next thing you want to do is estimate their 1 rep max. If you have a trained athlete such as Manny that already has a pretty good idea of what their 1 rep max is, then you can go off of that. If you have someone that's completely new to the gym, then you just kind of have to wing it. If you have a trained athlete such as Manny, you can start off by just asking him what he thinks his 1 rep max on the exercise is. Manny, what's your 1 rep max on bench?
About 315.
About 315. So what we want to do first is warm up with 40 to 60% of his 1 rep max. All we have to do from there is take his maximum of 315 and multiply it by 0.40 to 0.60, and that gives us our range for our warm-up set. Okay, so we've got Manny's estimated 1 rep max, which is 315 pounds. And as I said, we're going to multiply those by 0.40 to 0.60 to get our repetition range. So you can see I have the equations laid out right here. Times 0.40, 40% gives us 126 pounds, and 60% gives us 189 pounds. So for simplicity's sake, we can say that we're going to warm Manny up somewhere between 135 and 190 pounds. Okay, so now we've got Manny familiar with the exercise, and we've established what his estimated or theoretical 1 rep max is. From there, we went and calculated what his 40 and 60% maxes are, and identified a warm-up set that he would like to do. Manny chose 185 pounds. What I'm going to do now is have Manny do 5 to 10 reps at that selected weight. So go ahead and lay back, Manny. Again, as the coach, I'm going to get a sit position above the client, overhand, underhand, or alternating grip, and I'm going to help him lift the bar off the rack. Right. From there, I'm going to let go and let Manny execute the 5 to 10 reps on his own. Once he's completed the 10th rep, I help him re-rack the bar and let him sit up. From this point, I'm going to give Manny about 1 minute to do some light stretches and recover from the set that he just did. Alright, after Manny completes his first warm-up set, we're going to do a second warm-up set. We're going to bump up the intensity just a little bit. Now we're going to be working at 60 to 80% of his 1 rep max. We've already established what 60% is. Next thing we're going to do is establish 80. So we're going to take 315 and multiply that by 0.80, which gives us 252 pounds. So again, for simplicity, we can say that we're working in the range of 190 to 250 pounds. All right, now we're back over at the bar. Manny did his first warm-up set, and I gave him about 1 minute of light stretching to recover from that first set, and then we loaded the bar with 225 pounds. Now what I'm going to have Manny do is execute 3 to 5 repetitions at this weight. Hey, what's up, man? All right, so Manny finished up with 1 minute of light stretches, and in the meantime, while he was doing that, I put 295 pounds on the bar. Just a little bit under his 315 estimated max, but we want to have a little bit of wiggle room as we progress through. So let's give it a shot. Same standards before. We're going to give Manny a Danny's position over Manny, help him with the lift off, and then have him perform one repetition on his own. Ready? Push, push, push. As you can see, Manny struggled quite a bit with that one, so that may be his 1 rep max. What we'll do is let him recover for a couple minutes and we'll add 5 pounds to the bar. So 2.5 pound plate on each side. If you're doing a 1 repetition maximum, you don't want to add any more than 10 pounds to the bar in total per attempt. Okay, Manny just completed his first attempt at his 1 rep max. We added 2.5 pounds to each side of the bar, bumping him up to 300 pounds, so a little bit under his estimated 1 rep max. And what I'm going to do now, or what I did after his first attempt, was gave him 3 to 5 minutes of rest. Now that we have the weight established on the bar and he's recovered, we're going to go for set number 2. Ready? Come on. Push, 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 push. All right. Breathe. Okay, as you just saw, Manny had a failed attempt, so what we're going to do is document his 1 rep max at 295. When you are doing 1 repetition max attempts, if you have more than 1 successful attempt, you don't want to exceed 5 total attempts to establish your 1 rep max. So it makes it kind of important to make a good estimate at the beginning of your test. Another means to assess 1 rep max is through submaximal multi-repetition max testing. You don't want to go anywhere higher than 10 repetition maxes. That doesn't show a high correlation to 1 repetition max once you do the math at the end of the test. Multiple repetition maximum testing or submaximal repetition testing is appropriate for populations such as elderly adults and adolescents. What we're going to do now is establish a multi-repetition maximum with Manny back here behind me. First thing we're going to do, just as we did in the 1 repetition max, is have him do a couple familiarization repetitions to make sure he has the exercise down correctly. So what I have Manny do is step up to the bar, get a grip on the bar a little bit wider than shoulder width, and I'm going to have him step up and drop under the bar, resting the bar across his shoulders. From there, Manny's going to lift the bar up and step back towards me. He's going to spread his feet apart anywhere from hip to shoulder width apart, with his toes facing generally forward. From that position, he's going to shift his weight back onto his heels, gently push his hips back, and then come down into a squat by bending his hips and his knees and keeping his back straight through the duration of the movement. Go ahead. Good. One thing we'll ask Manny to do now is keep a tight grip on the bar. A couple more. Okay, I see the Manny's executing the exercise properly, so from here I can help him rack the bar by grabbing on and walking left to the rack and setting the bar down. Alright, now that we have Manny familiar with the exercise, the next thing we need to do is establish the weight that we're going to be working at. Again, we're going to take his estimated 1 rep max, which with Manny is convenient because as an athlete, he already knows what his 1 rep max on the squat is. Okay, so I asked Manny what he thinks his 1 rep max on squat is, and he said 335. What I want to do from there is identify what his 10 repetition max on squats would be. 10 repetition max is approximately 75% of 1 repetition maximum. So we take 335 and multiply that by 0.75, which gives us 251 pounds. So what I'm going to do from here is load the bar with 250 pounds and see if Manny can do 10 reps. Okay, now we've estimated Manny's 10 rep max and loaded the bar with the appropriate weight. I gave him a brief rest period after the familiarization repetitions, and now we're going to attempt his 10 rep max. If he does more than 10 repetitions, we're going to stop him immediately as we've underpredicted his 1 rep max, and anything higher than 10 repetitions doesn't show a strong correlation to 1 repetition maximum. As you can see, Manny did 10 repetitions with no compromises to form, meaning that we underestimated his 1 repetition maximum. After talking to Manny about his perceived exertion on the previous set, we decided to add 40 pounds to the bar, so we have 2 45s and a 35 on each side. Typically, this is a little bit big of a jump, but with a trained athlete such as Manny, it can be appropriate. Okay, we gave Manny 3 to 5 minutes of rest after that first attempt, loaded the bar with 295 pounds, and now we're going to make a second attempt. All I'm going to have him do is execute as many reps as he can, and when he can't do any more, his form's compromised, I'm going to help him lift the weight back up. We're going to rack the bar. Alright, so Manny just did 6 reps with 295 pounds. One important thing to keep in mind is that while I was close to Manny, I wasn't assisting him with any of the repetitions. If I provided any type of assistance whatsoever, then that repetition would not count because he didn't do it on his own. Same goes for 1 repetition maximum testing. The client has to do the entirety of the weight and the movement on their own with no outside assistance. Okay, going back to 1 repetition maximum, after we've established what the 1 rep max is, we want to express it in relative terms. So what we do from there is take Manny's 1 rep max on bench, which is 295 pounds, and convert that to kilograms, which is 134.1 kilograms. Also, we're going to take his body weight, which is 89.1 kilograms. We're going to divide the weight that he moved, divided by his total body weight, and that's going to give us 1.50 kilograms of weight per kilogram of body weight that he was able to move. We can also compare Manny's 1 rep max bench to normative data, and as you can see right here, at age less than 30, how old are you, Manny?
17.
At age 17, he was moving 295 pounds, which is well above the 95th percentile of 203 pounds for anybody under the age of 30. We can also compare it to relative data, showing excellent as being a rating of anything greater than 1.26, and Manny pushing 1.50 in relative terms, giving him an extremely excellent score. Alright, the next thing we want to do is take Manny's multi-rep max, which again was 295 pounds for 6 reps, and convert that into a 1 repetition maximum. So we're going to use this equation right here, where predicted 1 repetition maximum is equal to the weight lifted divided by 1.0278 minus 0.278 times the number of repetitions lifted. And again, 295 and 6. What that gives us is 295 over 1.0278 minus 0.1668, which gives us 295 over 0.86, which equals 342 pounds, and divided by 2.2 gives us 155.7 kilograms. All right, the last test that I want to do with Manny here is a push-up test. This test is to assess muscular endurance. Again, I want to start with the familiarization segment just to make sure that Manny does the test correctly. So what I'm going to have him do is lay completely flat on the floor with his chin touching the ground. I'm going to have him place his palms flat on the ground, just under his shoulders, ensuring that his hands are shoulder width apart. His feet are going to be 10 to 12 inches apart with the toes rotated downward, and that's going to be the pivot point for the exercise. Now what we have Manny do is tighten his core and lift his hips up off the ground, making his body nice and straight. And from that position, lift up off the ground. Okay. Then what we're going to have Manny do is come all the way down until his chin touches the ground. And all the way back up until his elbows lock out. While he's performing the exercise, I'm going to make sure that his body remains perfectly straight throughout. So no sagging in the hips. One sec. And no arching in the back. Okay, so I'll have Manny come back, do a couple repetitions to make sure that he's doing them correctly. Only your chin touches. And I say that he is doing them correctly, so I can have him stop now. Go and lay down. If you have a client that's unable to perform a push-up under their whole body weight, what you can have them do is stay in the same position right here, rest the knees on the floor, and lift their feet up off the ground. And perform the exercise the exact same way. When the client comes down on the repetition, ensure that the chin is the only thing that's touching the ground. The hips or the belly should not touch the ground. Very good. Okay, now that Manny's familiar with the exercise, I'm going to have him assume the start position again, ensuring that his hands are under his shoulders, his body is nice and straight, and his toes are rotated down on the ground. Scoot up just a little bit towards me. Perfect, right there. What I have him do is tighten up his core and his knees and come up to the start position. Now he's going to execute as many repetitions as he can without any compromises to form. Go ahead. Keep your body straight. Okay, so Manny executed 30 correct repetitions.